What's good, assholes? We got another episode of the weekly show here. Gonna cover some good racing. We had the Monster Energy Pro Downhill at Rock Creek and the first EDR. A few bike things. We got the new Canyon Sendr that was released, and then some banging videos. Trek released a documentary that was done by Sleeper. That was really good. Specialized released a video, as well as the boys Hilo from New Zealand released a banger with Billy Spurway. That thing got me fired up. And then I'll touch on some updates with the channel and what I'm gonna be doing this summer. A Europe trip has popped up, so there's gonna be some cool opportunities there to cover some racing, maybe do some racing myself, and then I'll touch on an old school bike video. So let's get into it. Monster Energy Pro Downhill at Rock Creek looked like a wild weekend. I'm just a fan of the series. I'm actually following it race to race. I'm watching the replays. They have press conferences. So the first thing I'll touch on is just the presence of the series as a whole. I think is really impressive. I think it has some room to grow in the production value, but it's already at a really good level.
Honestly, the biggest thing they could do to improve the broadcast is to get my boy Big Priv on the mic trackside. I forgot to put this in when I originally recorded this, but Big Priv, he's the best follow on Instagram right now in the mountain bike world. Love the energy. They put him on the mic for the track preview, and he freaking slayed it.
What's up, man? It's your boy Big Priv. We're out here at Mountain Creek, my home bike park. We're doing a track walk with some of my cool friends, man. We got Nico Mullally and Wes Sins out there. We're just having fun, man. This is home for me, man. It's gonna be GOAT.
You can tell he's a natural. We need this energy in mountain biking. It would add such a fun vibe to the whole broadcast, and yeah, definitely. I feel like it just fits for the Monster Energy Pro Downhill to have Big Priv involved in the broadcast. It would just make me happy, and I feel like the fans demand it at this point.
The series has stepped up and is, I think, doing the right things. And the fact that Gwyn has committed to race the entire series is, yeah, just a major endorsement for the series as a whole. I touched on it in another weekly show, but I really see this as becoming the second most relevant downhill series in the world outside of the actual World Cup. And I think the sport really needs that right now. But besides the whole series, the race itself at Rock Creek looked pretty badass. The track looked sick, was super wide, was just kind of wide open and fast, across ski runs. Like, without riding it, it just looked like a more Euro style track, which is always nice to see in the US. Dakota Norton is back after a savage hip injury. He got 6th, and his run looked fucking sick. Like, Dakota is the most creative line guy on the circuit, I think, besides Reese. And honestly, Gwyn took some pretty hot lines in this one too that was interesting to see, but it's just always a pleasure to watch Dakota ride and chop it up. And you could tell he wasn't at full strength, but to put together a race run that close to a serious injury like that is incredibly impressive. But yeah, I think there's enough time, and the season's long enough where we'll see Dakota back up to full form at some point this season. And I honestly think with the length of the season this year, I think there's 12 or 13 races. I think the season is going to be way more demanding in that sense than it's ever been, just with keeping your energy and focus throughout all of those races, and maybe having a little bit more downtime in the off season to really relax could actually be a bit of an asset getting deeper and deeper into the season. Just the travel and the events stacked on top of each other. It's going to be like a different sort of endurance than, just completing an 8-race series. Those extra 5 races is going to be something to contend with. But regardless of all that, it's just crazy impressive that Dakota's back on the bike at the races this quick. But it was like a wild race weekend. I would encourage watching the replay and getting some coverage, because it pissed rain through all the practice. The lifts broke, and then they raced Sunday morning without having ridden the track in those conditions hardly at all. So it was interesting to see the riders piece together race runs on a track that they were ultimately fairly unfamiliar with conditions-wise. But Gwyn took the dub. Dude is looking good. It's just No one rides quite like Gwyn. There's some Gwyn-esque similar riding styles, but I mean, I just grew up watching him race in his dominant era, and that's when I was like, kind of fell in love with downhill. So just seeing Gwyn back to riding at a high level and just doing his thing, it just makes me happy, and he looks just fucking sick on the bike. So I don't know. I'm really pulling for Gwyn to have a good year. It's just been too long since, I mean, he said it himself a million times. It's just he's had a rough go these past few seasons. So yeah, I'm excited to see Gwyn back at the races and kind of building momentum and getting a dub. That's just what I like to see. At one point it was kind of tiring to see Gwyn win, but now I'm all for it. And yeah, it was just, regardless of the result, like how he looked in that race run was just sick to watch. EDR, Dan Booker taking the dub. Flat pedals taking the win again. Style-wise, Dan Booker is kind of Sam Hill 2.0. Just super smooth on the bike. It's just a treat to see him ride. And talking to Marco Osborne, like, it just seems like he's operating so chill but efficient, and that just melds so well with flat pedals, and I'm just a fan of the whole deal. The dude seems super mellow, really humble, and yeah, I honestly don't know if there's like a person I wanted to see win more than that. Like, he wasn't really even on my radar for the win, but now that he's done it, like, yeah, just so stoked for him. Put the Geometron on the top of the box, freaking smoked him by like over 20 seconds. So that was wild to see. Big up to Aeon Racing for, getting her on that bike and, getting the first win on a belt drive. So that bike looks insane. That's another side quest that I'm going to try and go on. I'm planning on hassling Reese and that team to try and ride one of those bikes. Besides that, Team America did well. Richie, solid result, but mostly stoked on JT Fisher. His first Elite World Cup, getting in the top 10 is a badass result. And yeah, just stoked to see an American kid mixing it up with all the fast guys. Marco Osborne came home in 24th, doing it for NorCal out there. I think he wants better for sure, but that's still a super solid result. I talked to Marco on the phone just to catch up with him and get the lowdown on the race. So if you want to hear that conversation, it was a fun chat. I posted the audio up from that on Patreon. And the coverage was actually pretty good. Like, I checked out the race day video that was like fairly watchable. It's like so hard to put enduro in a full production, because if you actually cover everything, it would be like a 3-hour broadcast. But they kind of just showed a mix of riding shots mixed with interviews from the riders after the stages. It was like 15 minutes. And I was like, I kind of got a sense of what went on during that race. Saw the terrain, saw some good riding and some insights from the racers. So enduro coverage is a hard one, but I think that was actually done pretty well. So yeah, racing's underway. We got the next downhill and enduro World Cup next weekend, and it's going to be full on. And like I said, I'm going to be over in Europe for a lot of June and July. So I'll have the opportunity to hopefully cover some of this stuff in person. I'm hoping to go to Leogang, Val di Sole, and Val di Fossa. I would love to race Val di Fossa, whatever the race they hold for the non-pros. But if anyone's out there in Europe that would like to get me a bike, hopefully something cool, like maybe even a team bike. I don't know. I just want to race something, e-bike or regular, at Val di Fossa. I won't be over there with a bike. So if there's something cool out there for me to ride, holler at me. But yeah, I would love to hassle, like, Aeon Racing Reese, if you're watching this, get me on that Geometron belt drive thing. That would be sick. And Canyon released their new Sendr. Thing looks friggin' sick. They've been racing it for a little bit. I don't know, without riding it, can't really say much. There's two things that kind of stood out to me is the high anti-rise number. I feel like a lot of bikes have been going away from the higher anti-rise. Personally, I haven't been able to test anti-rise independently, so it's hard for me to have a strong stance on it. When I ride bikes with low anti-rise, I appreciate aspects about it. And then high anti-rise bikes, I also appreciate stuff about that. But I would love to be able to test it back to back on a mule of some sort on the same trail. So no real point on that besides it's just interesting that they're kind of stepping into the high anti-rise zone with that bike. And then I don't know, it kind of confuses me that they don't have any chainstay adjustment. You guys probably saw this coming, but yeah, for how in-depth they went with development, and they even talked a lot about balance. For them to not have an adjustable chainstay or anything size specific is kind of confusing. And it's fairly short, especially for the big size, especially since a lot of their race, like Luca is super tall. For Troy, I think that's probably pretty dialed, but it's interesting that that there's not an option for a longer rear center. I know it's a fairly high pivot, so it is longer at sag. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting they didn't have anything size specific, because I think Canyon really goes in depth on developing these bikes, and I would have just thought that would have been an important piece of the puzzle. Oh, and then I thought this was interesting. Ghost releases a new Freeride bike. Haven't really seen a bike released as a Freeride bike in a while, but this thing basically just looks like a long travel enduro bike, and I don't quite like the Freeride name, because I don't know, if this was actually a Freeride bike, then why would it have a 490 mil reach in a size large? It's almost a 1300 mil wheelbase. Like, I'm sorry, that ain't a Freeride bike. Like, if you're actually going to make a Freeride bike, I think there is a spot for it, but don't call it Freeride and then just have downhill race bike numbers or long boy enduro bike numbers. You don't want a mega long wheelbase for Freeride. I mean, it actually looks like a pretty sick bike. Just the diving into the Freeride thing doesn't really make a lot of sense besides it just having longer travel. So I like the concept for the bike, but I don't think the Geo is a good representation of what it actually is. And, maybe you just size down. The medium actually looks pretty tight, like 466 reach. Moving on to some videos. We had some good ones in the past week or so. The Trek documentary by Sleeper about the new team was hella sick. I mean, I think Sleeper kills it. It's one of the only, as far as mountain bike storytelling goes, I think they're really the best in class. I don't know, for me, I'm pretty plugged into the sport, and even I missed a lot of the context on these riders, and you don't get the story piece by piece on how they got to where they are. So I appreciated a lot of the story behind Matt Walker, Lockie, the other riders on the team, just because you don't get it presented to you in that way that builds a character. You just get, they popped up on the podium here and there, but when it's presented, it's produced and edited in a way that actually creates suspense and interest, and there's a storyline and arc with energy and direction. And it's backed up by a lot of really good visuals. I was able to watch that 30-minute video all the way through without really zoning out. So that's a big dub. And props to Trek for hiring Sleeper for that. I think it was also cool that they just allowed the riders to talk about the contracts, their previous experience with other teams, even when they were on other brands. For me, Trek seems super mega corporate, and they wouldn't even want the Madison Saracen logo in their videos. But yeah, Matt was able to talk about and show his full story with Madison Saracen, and it's not just oh, hey, I'm here on Trek. And I think that adds just way more context. Plus the whole vibe and energy of the team. That's kind of what the whole video was about. Way younger. Again, kind of a fresher, younger energy for Trek, which kind of has always seemed just maybe more boring and serious type of company. So I don't know, I just dig that vibe for Trek. It's what they need, honestly. And then I was gonna talk about the Finn Isles video and the new demo, but that shit got taken down. So I don't know if they put something out there about that bike that
they didn't want to or something like that. But interesting that video has been removed. But yeah, that was the closest look I think we've gotten on the new proto demo. Not much else to say here.
My favorite video to come out recently was the Bill Spurway video out of New Zealand, done by my boys at High Low. Love all the work that these guys do. I bought the merch. I'm all in. Yeah, dude's just fucking ripping. Tricks, style, speed. He's got it all. Tasteful edit, dad cam, slow-mos. It just came together in a sick piece that I was super fired up on. Yeah, it's like, not to get on, make this about Geo, because the video's sick, but like, I mean, the guy's on a Forbidden. Seems like he's able to flick that bike around just fine. And I just want to touch on that because I feel like there's an element of, you know, he's flicking the bike, but I've said it before, with the longer stays, it just, especially with a good rider like Billy, sorry, it just looks like he can put his full body weight and energy and commit to the movement he's trying to make with the bike. And he's just, it just makes for riding that looks like it's like full of energy and power. And like the flicks he's doing are more just like drifts, and he's chopping that bike around, and it looks like he's just able to ride all out, and the bike can like hold that. And it just looks like the bike really complements that. Just a little nerd touch on the video there, but yeah, just stoked in general on that dude in the scene down in New Zealand. Last thing, old school bike edit. You guys just got to check out the Fogelsodes on Pink Bike, back when videos were uploaded straight to Pink Bike. For those of you that don't know, Jack Fogelquist, triple OG out of Santa Cruz, was on the Freeride World Tour, like Road Crankworks, Best Trick. Like, dude was on the up in the slope style scene and would just do the most insane combos. Like, I think he did like flip whip, 1 foot X up. Like, dude would do 1 foot X ups with like 360 tail whips and shit. Like, had the sickest style, was super funny, and was honestly so early into the like weekly riding, not weekly, but just like the riding episodes where him and his homies would just go out into the trails, film something, make a little edit, and post it on the internet. Like, dude was before his time, and he did it all on Pink Bike, so I'll provide a link in the description for that. But I grew up being super hyped to all the Fogelsodes. The music's amazing, the vibe is sick, and it's just real authentic core riding from a group of dudes who are just good at riding and put together fun-ass videos. So that's some good NorCal lore for you. But I think that's about it. But yeah, besides that, kind of just want to put it out there. If you're in the France, Italy region area of Europe, you know, everything's not too far away there. And if there's a bike that I can ride or a place I should visit, somewhere I should go, let me know. I'm just going to be traveling around with my backpack trying to do cool shit. So what do you got? Throw something at me. Like, I could be down. Yeah, travel plans are super loose, but just looking to have a good time in Europe and do cool shit while I'm there. I don't really have anything I need to be back for until mid to late July. So let me know what's up. I'm trying to, should be a fun trip, and whatever I'm doing, I'll be filming it all. So you guys can, I don't know, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully that'll be entertaining for you guys too. But besides that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.